Welcome to the System Simplified podcast, where we feature top leaders who share stories on how to successfully systemize a business. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello, Adi Klevit here, the host of the System Simplified podcast, where I interview top founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders about systematizing a business. And today's episode is being brought to you by Business Success Consulting Group, where we create, document, and implement processes and procedures so businesses can grow and thrive. And today's guest is Cindy Norcott. Hi, Cindy.
Hi there. It's lovely to be here. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's great to have you. And you are here all the way from South Africa, which is extremely exciting. It's from the other side of the globe. I like that distance, and I like that ability to talk despite the distance and where we are. So that's our modern technology. So good to have you here. And before we even jump into who you are and our conversation, I want to give a big shout out to Chad Gill that introduced us. And I've recorded, I think, 2 episodes at least with Chad, and I'm going to include those in the show notes so people can refer to it. I mean, Chad is definitely a very successful entrepreneur. He's now owns his own consulting company, coaching company, and he helps other entrepreneurs to actually achieve the freedom that they want and live the lifestyle that they want and really get the most out of the business, just like he did with his own. So I definitely recommend you listen to those episodes and learn more about Chad. So thank you, Chad, for the introduction. And now, Cindy, it's all about you. So let me first of all introduce you. So you are a true entrepreneur. You started your company 29 years ago. It's a recruitment company, and it's busy, and very productive. You have your own nonprofit that you started about 18 years ago.
That's correct.
Where you're actually trying to making changes all across society, which is absolutely incredible. And you're busy, and you're also an author. You wrote 2 books. One of them is called How Does She Do It, which is so appropriate because when I heard everything that you do, I'm like, how does she do it? And there you go. There is the book, and you can show the cover. I love that cover. It looks amazing. So beautiful. Here we go.
It's How Does She Do It?
All right.
And Adi, the answer is not very well at all. And that's absolutely fine. Everyone else thinks somebody else is doing it perfectly. And I think my book was to dispel the myth that other people have it all together. So many of us do that. We pedestalize other people, and then we therefore put ourselves down. And my whole thing was, let's go for progress, not perfection,
I love it. That's great. But let's talk about, anything else that I missed from the bio?
No, I think that's about it.
Excellent. All right. So let's talk about you. How did you start your business? Like, what happened 29 years ago that you decided to open your business, the recruiting business?
Adi, I was actually 23 years old, and I had worked for a recruitment company. And, there's something to be said for the naivety or the arrogance of youth. I worked for this company, and I ran their branch in one part of South Africa. And I thought, I could do this so much better if it was my own, not really understanding that I had no idea about accounting. I didn't know how to run a business, how to start a business. So it was a baptism of fire. But, and I think I was motivated, I was ambitious, I was determined, and I'm glad I started young because I didn't know what I didn't know. So it worked very well for me to just start up, and I just thought I can give it a bash, and I literally had all my savings, which was not a lot of money, probably the equivalent of not even $500, and I put it into a bank account and started the business, and then I worked my bum off. I literally didn't stop. And the business grew from the day I started. And it was, I think there was a lot of luck involved, but it was a great it's been a great journey. It's an absolutely exciting journey.
Absolutely. Do you feel like it's really luck, or do you think you actually did the actions necessary in order to create it?
I totally believe that it was hard work. I don't meet too many lucky people who are lazy. So I
true.
think it takes a lot of preparation. It takes hard work. It takes vision. It takes discipline, and it takes a whole heap of passion. So I don't know any, and I've coached so many entrepreneurs over the years, and I've often said to people, I won't coach you. You don't have the ingredients. And they go, what do you mean? And I'm like, you're not prepared to do the work. You don't want to be uncomfortable. You have more excuses than goals, so I think there is not too much luck in business. I think we get what we deserve most of the time.
Absolutely. So, okay, let me ask you this question. That's actually interests me in terms of like you coached a lot of entrepreneurs. What do you think are what is the common denominator of successful entrepreneurs?
I think a healthy dose of self-belief, it goes a long way. I think you've got to believe you can do it, because if you don't, why even start the journey? I also think that innate drive for achievement, and that optimism. I think optimism is a beautiful quality where you believe that the future can be better than today. So you believe in yourself, you believe the future can be better, and you're prepared to do the work, So I think those are the qualities I look for. That passion, as I mentioned, people who kind of love what they do, and they get excited about it. It's not a chore, it's not a duty. I also think having very high energy levels is a huge plus. And most of the entrepreneurs I know, because they've got the passion provides the fuel that they need to keep going. So, and then that resilience, it's a bit of an overused word, but people who go, well, it's okay, plan A, B, C, and D all didn't work, but I know I can do E, F, and G, and they keep getting up after they've been knocked. And I think that's a huge quality. So, when I look at coaching people, I look at people that have got a combination of those factors.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's kind of like you are busting or shattering the myth of like, you can be very successful or make a lot of money by working like 2 hours a week, right?
Yes.
It just doesn't happen. You can get there, but you do need to get there by being able to invest work into your business and building it.
Exactly. I don't believe anyone started off being successful by adopting the 4-day work week a method, or by trying to do as little as possible. I think in the beginning, I think we all go through a learning curve when we start a business. In the beginning, we have to work hard. I think we do. And then I think a lot of us are slow learners because we're so busy working in the business that it takes us quite a while to go, wait a minute, there's a better way, there's a smarter way. And I think once we've reached a certain level of maturity in our business, we start doing the smart work, going, I need to delegate this, or I need to systematize this, or I need to, or why am I doing this? There must be someone cheaper than me, So I think it's first level is hard work, second level is smart work, I'd say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the delegation, and that's the systematizing, which we have touched on this podcast many, many times. All right. So now this is a recruitment company. So tell us more about who do you hire and which companies do you work with?
We work in many, many categories of business, but our main areas are insurance, IT, medical, financial, and technical. So those are the industries that we work the majority. It's mainly for permanent staffing. And one thing that's happened, the one positive that came out of the whole COVID scenario was that prior to COVID, we were very geographically bound. Could candidates get to us within an hour for an interview? I think COVID did us a wonder, because all of a sudden we realized that everything could be done online. So it has been an amazing thing for us to actually say, the things that we used to think could only be done in person are now online. So our business has moved online, and now we are equally able to recruit for people halfway across the world like yourselves, as we are for a company next door. And that has just been a complete game changer. No geography boundaries, no limits, has led to a massive growth in demand for our services as well. But also there's a brain drain. All third world countries are experiencing brain drains right now. So people are needing staff, and we know how to find them, because we've got the systems and the procedures and the the know-how, and you know, that's what we offer companies. You know, it's funny, when you interview all day every day for 35 years, you become quite good at interviewing. I think it's like Malcolm Gladwell always talks about the 10,000 hours, you know, and I think, well, we've done way more than that individually. So I think you become quite good at honing your craft in one particular area, if I could say that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that is definitely, that is part of finding good talent and being able to interview and being able to find and having a pool of applicants that you don't rely on just the geographical zone. So I agree that that is a key to success. How do you organize your own company internally? Like what led you to be able to keep the company for 29 years and expanding in terms of your own personal organization?
I think for me, it's finding somebody in your company. Let's be honest, a lot of businesses start off and they're quite small. So for me, the most important step when I started my business was to find out if I could hire somebody who kind of complemented me. So somebody who had different skills to me, you know, and so many entrepreneurs make the mistake of going, oh, I love you, you're just like me. And then they hire someone who replicates their strengths, but sadly replicates their weakness. So for me, getting a good bookkeeper, getting somebody who is far more systematic, detail-orientated, analytical, methodical, because I'm everything that's not those qualities. And that was, I think, the first good move. The second move, because I have a typical entrepreneurial nature, I get bored easily. I see opportunities everywhere. So I've gone into business coaching, motivational speaking, working in my charity, hosting massive events. All these things take me away from the business. So the next crucial step was to hire a really good manager, somebody with higher levels of patience. I realized that's really important for training staff. And, you know, for the repetitiveness of it, you know, you feel like, oh my gosh, haven't I just done this? Meanwhile, it was 3 months ago, I trained somebody. So having somebody with high levels of patience and attention to detail and a high level of teamwork. I think for me as an entrepreneur, I'm often ahead of the pack. I'm often a bit of a lone ranger. So having somebody who cares more about the team than their own results is an important thing. You know, it's more a we focus than an I focus. So I've been very blessed to have really good office managers over the last at least 15 years. Having somebody who is a great housekeeper and a great manager helps me to be a better leader, because then I'm not getting sucked into the day-to-day minutiae of details, which I don't like anyway, you know. And I'm also fortunate in that my bookkeeper also doubles up as a PA, as a VA. So I often have jobs that I procrastinate on. And Adi, I don't know if you like have learned this, but it took me like literally until about 2 years ago to learn this. I always thought, no, I never procrastinate. Then I went to a course where they said, we all procrastinate. And I thought, no, not me. And they said, what don't you like doing and what are you scared of? And I thought, oh my gosh, there are so many things I procrastinate on. So I have a list of things that I'll go, I don't want to do them and I don't like doing them. And then my darling bookkeeper, bless her, because she's so different to me, she actually quite enjoys a lot of those things. So it's kind of a win-win situation. She's happy to do those things that I absolutely hate, and I'm happy to hand them over. So I think those I think are elements of getting the business into the right space where I could maybe splinter out from there and follow other passions as well. And then obviously hiring people who love the job, hiring people who are happy to recruit and dig deep every single day. I think that's an important element to you know, you can have a great company, great bookkeeper, great office manager, but you need the people actually doing the work. And I think for me, a big element of the success of the team is creating a really, really unique, genuine, warm, caring, loving culture where everyone works as a team. It's a very unique, beautiful space, and we hold it sacred. So whenever we take on a new person, you know, we want to know, can they add something to the DNA of the team? You know, are they a nice person? Are they going to be a team player? And, you know, And I think that was an important element that many companies maybe miss out on. They'll possibly look more at the technical skills. I'm looking at, can I have lunch with this person? Will my best clients like them? Can we get on with this human? I think those are important factors.
Absolutely. I agree 100%, and I actually want to mention what you said in terms of hiring a second in command is so important. I've done an episode on it with Cameron Harold, and that he has a book, it's called The Second in Command, and that is specifically what we talked about and how to do that. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's an interesting question an interesting subject that you brought up in terms of the culture versus the experience, right? So let's say I have a company where I'm trying to recruit, but what's more important in your estimation and from your experience? Is it finding somebody that matches the culture but lacking experience and then we can train them, or somebody who has experience but maybe lacking culture? Of course, we want to have the combination, but as I was talking to one of my clients yesterday, that's the unicorn, right? We all want the unicorns, and the unicorns, unless we were joking because we said, okay, we're going to start a range of raising unicorns, right? But if that happened, then it will be game over, right? It will be like, okay, here's your unicorn, here's your unicorn, right? So sometimes we work in a specialized industry that experience is very important, but do we compromise on the culture, or do we hire somebody that has those innate core values similar to us? Like you said, the culture is sacred, that you want to go out to lunch with them, that, maybe they're not going to become your best friends, but if you sit there and we want to have those that will become our best friends, but also we have to be real. People are different, and we don't, we have people that we're more friendly with or not, but you do want to have that friendliness. You want to sit down across the table in a lunch and have genuine interest in their lives and who they are and have a real conversation, right? So, and of course, so we have the unicorns, and then we have on the other hand those that don't have experience and don't match our culture. So we can definitely weed those out. But what do you say about that conundrum of like, which one should I pick?
I find that it depends. It depends on the role. So for instance, you might have a company where you've got quite a few remote people where they're not having much interaction with the rest of the team. So you might say, listen, all we need is a skill. You might also find that, wait a minute, if we hire someone and they're not a good culture fit, maybe we could use them as an associate or as an outsourced person and a service provider. So I've seen some people do that. But my rule of thumb is always hire for culture, train for skill. That's kind of like the standard response, because when you hire for culture is what is the tapestry of your organization. And if like, so I'm in a company where everyone matters. There's no redundant person. There's no person who can not show up in a day. And our culture is very strong. If somebody isn't pulling their weight, it literally reveals them very quickly. And if somebody isn't kind and caring, if somebody isn't a team player, they literally will stick out like a sore thumb, and they will literally fire themselves. They will say, this isn't for me. This is too nice. These people are too much. They expect so much of me. How can I smile all day and work? So I think for me, but let's look at the areas where we have massive short skills. Let's look at like AI. People in the IT space, you've got a company, you need a great developer and you can't find great people. So what do? You need the skills, but I know a lot of our clients who'll say, oh, well, it goes with the territory. A lot of the developers aren't necessarily great people's people, but they're great skills, and that's what we need. But you might find in marketing it's maybe more important that you get the people skills. But a rule of thumb is we always go for the attitude and the culture fit. And then the second thing is the skills, as long as the skills are acceptable, of an acceptable level. Otherwise, you're wasting your time. They have to be of an acceptable level. But there's that saying that we often hire people based on their technical skills, and then we fire them based on their attitude and their lack of culture fit. So I think that says a lot about, that obviously we've got to make sure that there's a certain base level of required skills. But the switch factor, the decision-making factor is probably going to be which one is going to add to the DNA, to the culture, to the general, There's a matrix, want to and can do. You want people who can do the work, but they also want to do it and they want to grow. So I think that's what I would encourage companies to do.
I agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly again, because it's, I had a client that told me once, it was a property management company, and they were hiring for skills because they felt like they could not train fast enough, but it was really making them suffer in terms of the culture, because they will hire people that were not really matching who they are. So then we actually created like a whole training program for them to onboard new property managers, so they will learn the way that company does things. And one of their, just in their testimonial, like one of the things that really they liked is the fact that now they can hire for culture. I mean, of course, you have to have some experience, and the person has to have qualities that will make them a good property manager, right? Otherwise, it's not going to happen. They can't just train from scratch. You have to learn somewhere, especially the senior property managers, but they didn't need somebody in a specialized area that had that experience, because they were able to train in the way they do things. And I honestly think that is one of the advantages of having well-documented processes and procedures and systems, that people can understand the system, because then you train them for their skills, but then you hire people that are actually aligned with your core values, with your culture, which again can be taught as well. They still have to have that innate capabilities, and you have to have the idea and the feeling that, yeah, they do match my culture. But I think that it's very important to also document, and we've done that. Like, we create culture books, and we created a course about culture and whatnot, but because you also need to, you can't just assume that people will understand what your culture is. I mean, they might innately fit your culture, but they just came from a company that has completely opposite culture. Now they feel like they need to behave like they behave in the other company. So you do have to spell it out, right? I mean, you have to spell out, this is what we expect from you. These are our core values. This is how we treat people, right? I mean, just, and then when a person aligns with that immediately they click, and then they become part of the group.
Absolutely. I think you've just touched on something that I've realized in recruitment. Often we have clients who, out of laziness or lack of professionalism, will want people that have all the skills and the experience, because they don't have the training manuals, they don't have the operation manuals, and they don't have the appetite to train. So it's a laziness, or it's an unprofessional approach, and one thing I can say, if I look at my office manager, she has taken things to a whole new level. There are ops manuals for everything. She's taken everything and systematized it to the point that it's a paint by numbers approach. And if a company has that, if they, because so often people go, oh my gosh, I have to train again. What do we do? They haven't put thought into that. And this is it's like building a house and not putting the floor down, So it's like the basic foundation. So imagine a company now saying, you know what, we're going to take on younger people. We're going to take on people maybe with not the right enough experience, but don't worry, we've got a training program. We've got an induction program. We've got an onboarding system. We've got we've got a culture, and everything is there from all 15 parts. It would make it a lot easier. And then it would probably mean that, we could actually take on people who are a little bit more junior, because we have a training plan. So I would definitely encourage companies this is like painting the backdrop. A lot of people are just going in blind, but they don't have the basics there. And it's doing that work up front, or getting it done up front to help propel you into the future. If a company has a training plan for 3 months, say, where the person understands the values, and they upskill them from where they are to where they need them to be, most jobs probably don't take more than 3 months of training. Let's be honest, unless it's rocket science, which it might be. But, if somebody has got the basic qualifications, within 3 months, you can train somebody to be quite remarkable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. And that training is so important, and having a good onboarding system is very, very, very important. Great. Well, Cindy, this has been a tremendous conversation. You are such a wealth of knowledge. I have to ask you before, because we're coming to the end of the podcast, about your book. So what is your book all about?
So the book I wrote during COVID was called How Does She Do It? And it's funny, I kind of covered a lot of the things that I speak about. People are always asking me, how do you get the balance right? And, a lot of people assume that I'm completely balanced, which I'm not. And I just explain the things I've done right and the things I've done wrong. So it's just a very vulnerable and authentic approach to don't believe everything you see. Just because somebody looks like they've got it together doesn't mean they do. So I've just shared a lot of my experiences on how I've built my brand, how I've built relationships, how I've grown my business, but from the back end, from looking at it behind the scenes, not this like very glossy textbook approach, but the messy, sometimes it was organic, sometimes things happened by mistake. Sometimes it was an unintended consequence, and kind of looking that road from where I used to be to where I am now was not linear. It went in squiggles. It was back and forth, lots of the mistakes. And I think what it does is it's giving other people permission so that even if they don't feel they have the confidence or the skills, that, well, if I got from where I was to where I am now, maybe they can also embark on their own little messy journey and see where it takes them, so for me, it was just really a tell-all, just dispelling myths, it's not easy. Yes, I am anxious at times. Yes, I work too hard. I've made loads of mistakes, but that's part of the journey, and just really giving people permission to take on the journey in their own imperfect way. So a lot of humor, a lot of vulnerability, but I think that's what the world needs at the moment. I think we've got enough textbooks,
I think so too. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. All right. So can people find it on Amazon?
They can contact me. If it probably would be the easiest one.
Good. Can so how do they do that?
Okay. They'd need to just visit my website, www.cindynorcott.co.za. Good.
So we are definitely going to include it in the show notes as well. Okay. Absolutely. They should contact you and get that book. It sounds fabulous. And thank you so much, Cindy, for being a guest on this podcast.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
You're very welcome.
Thanks for listening to the System Simplified podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.